Hello friends, let us now learn some important points about the aortic stenosis. So, in the aortic stenosis, if you see, so first we will see the causes of aortic stenosis or etiology of aortic stenosis. Aortic stenosis occurs due to the bicuspid aortic valve. This bicuspid aortic valve presentation is seen in infantile or infants. Then it also occurs in the child due to rheumatic heart disease, and it occurs in the adult who is more than the age of 65 years. It occurs due to senile calcification or age related calcification of aortic stenosis. So you can see in the aortic stenosis there is bimodal distribution of age distribution is seen in aortic stenosis, because you can see it in children and in adults. So if you see the clinical features of aortic stenosis, it has three important features. There is syncope present on exertion. This syncope on exertion will decrease the cardiac output of the aortic of the heart. It decreases the cardiac output of the heart, and it also causes angina. Why does angina occur? See, what we will see the how this aortic stenosis occur. What is the hemodynamics of aortic stenosis? So if this is the heart, here we have the aortic valve which is thickened. Now it is difficult for the aortic valve to open. So in order to open, for the aortic valve to open, the left ventricle has to generate the high amount of pressure to open the calcified or stenosed aortic valve. So as a result, because it is difficult to open, first and foremost I will write it here, okay. So it is difficult for the, I'll write it here, there is aortic stenosis. Now because of this aortic stenosis, there is stenosed aortic valve. So because of the aortic stenosis, there is difficulty. Yeah, what is stenosis? Stenosis is difficulty in opening of aortic valve. So whenever there is difficulty in opening of aortic valve, then the left ventricle has to exert high pressure for opening of the stenosed aortic valve, and as a result this will result in left ventricular hypertrophy, right? So because of this left ventricular hypertrophy, the oxygen demand of the left ventricle will increase. When the oxygen demand of left ventricle will increase, but still the blood supply is normal, so as a result this will result in the angina, right? So this is the reason why there is angina, okay. Now this angina can also result in subendocardial ischemia, okay, and it can sometimes progress to myocardial infarction also if it is not resolved. Then there is dyspnea. Why is there dyspnea? See, I will tell you this. Now I have said there is left ventricular hypertrophy. Now whenever there is left ventricular hypertrophy, there is increased pressures which are present in the left ventricle. Now the left atrium has to again, so there is increased pressures. Now the left atrium has to again push the blood from the left atrium to left ventricle against these higher pressures. So there is left atrial hypertrophy also occurs. Here there is left ventricular hypertrophy, and now you will also see the left atrial hypertrophy. Now because of this left atrial hypertrophy, now the blood comes from the lungs, and even here the pulmonary pressures will also increase, right? So there will be increased blood accumulation here. See, whenever it cannot pump blood, whenever the left ventricle cannot pump the enough blood into the stenosed aortic valve, then there is buildup of blood here, which will also cause back pressure to the left atrium, and this also causes back pressure to the pulmonary in the lung. In the lung, the what do we say, the pressures will increase. This will lead to exudation of fluid into the interstitial fluid of lung, leading to pulmonary edema. So because of back pressure, there is increased pressure in the pulmonary capillaries, increased pulmonary arterial pressure, so this will actually pulmonary venous pressure. Okay, this will cause pressure mismatches, and there is exudation of fluid into the interstitial fluid, thus resulting in formation for pulmonary edema. Whenever pulmonary edema develops, this will cause dyspnea in the patient. So here if you see in the aortic stenosis, the triad which you see here is presence of syncope on exertion, angina and dyspnea. Now on examination, if you examine the patient, now you will see the two things. One, there is pulsus tardus et parvus. Here there is slow raising pulse is seen, because, or this is also called as anacrotic pulse. So I will just draw this pulse pressure graph so that it becomes very easy. So if you see the normal pulse pressure graph looks like this. So this is the S1, this is S2, this is S3. Sorry, S1 again. So S1, S2, S3. This is one cardiac cycle. So this first the pressures will increase, and then they will decrease, and there will be a dicrotic notch, and slowly they will decrease. This is how the pulse flows. Now in aortic stenosis, if you see, there is slowly the pulse will raise, because it is difficult for the for this heart to push the blood against the stenosed aortic valve, and as a result slowly the pulse pressure will raise, and then this is how it decreases. So this slow raising pulse is called as pulsus parvus et tardus. Right? Now if you see in the carotid artery, this pulse will tend to peak in the middle. This pulse will peak in the middle of the systole. Okay, and then again it will decrease off. Now if you see some more things, right, then it will decrease off, and then there is dicrotic notch will be present. Here remember, the dicrotic notch in this aortic stenosis, it occurs after S2. Even in the picture you can see the dicrotic notch. This is the dicrotic notch which you are seeing after the S2, and the pulse generated in the middle of the systole, it is again normal. See, here also it is normal. Right. So in the valvular aortic stenosis, you are seeing that there is an obstruction which occurs. So slowly the pulse raises and it takes time to take. So this is called as pulsus parvus et tardus. So here what is happening here is dicrotic notch which is present in S2 is decreased or completely absent. And one more important thing is the pulse in this is also decreased in amplitude. True, right? The pulse here it has decreased amplitude. See, it is this big normal pulse, but now it is decreased in amplitude, and the dicrotic notch may be absent. So because of absence of dicrotic notch, we call it as anacrotic pulse. Then if you examine more, on examination, now we have seen about the pulse. Now if you auscultate the patient, on auscultation you will see the presence of the following findings. First, you will see the presence of double apical impulse, because it is difficult for the aortic stenosed valve to open, so this results in double apical impulse, and the heart is beating in 5th and 6th intercostal space. This apical impulse is present in 5th and 6th intercostal space, and it has heaving type of apex beat, which is heaving is forceful, because the left ventricle is actually pumping very forcefully to open the stenosed aortic valve. So this is heaving type of apex beat is seen. And if you do the S2 sound will be narrow or paradoxical or single split is seen. There can be narrow split or single sound, or paradoxical split or single sound is seen based on the severity. See, in the beginning, the S2 sound comprises of two sounds. One, we have A2 and P2. A2 comes after P2. This is narrow. So as the severity increases, you will see the single heart sound, and as it furthermore increases, there will be A2 comes after P2. So this is paradoxical split, because in the beginning, if you see, A2 has in the beginning normally A2 and P2, and then slowly the heart takes longer time. See, left ventricle takes longer time to pump the blood in to open the stenosed aortic valve, because it will have to push harder with higher pressure. So because the left ventricle takes higher time to push the blood into the aorta, so obviously the A2 will delay. So slowly this will approach each other, and this will form single heart sound, and slowly as the severity increases, the duration of opening of A2 will further increase. Duration of A2 will further increase, thus resulting in paradoxical split. Duration of closure of A2, duration of closure of A2 will further increase. Even here, duration of closure of A2 will further increase, thus resulting in paradoxical split. Right? Now, we will have a murmur which is called as crescendo decrescendo murmur. This is crescendo decrescendo murmur is seen. This is actually an ejection systolic murmur, because here there is difficulty in opening of the heart valve, and after opening the blood flows against the stenosed aortic valve, so as a result it causes ejection systolic murmur. Then the investigation of choice of this aortic stenosis is, we can do transthoracic echocardiography can be done. This will show the atherosclerotic changes. So investigation of choice is transthoracic echocardiography, where you will find the atherosclerotic changes, and you will also do one more investigation. This should be combined with always coronary angiography. When you combine the transthoracic echocardiography with coronary angiography, you can find out the coexisting atherosclerotic vessels clearly. Okay, then if you see the treatment of this disorder, the treatment is, it depends if the patient is symptomatic and if the patient is in severe aortic stenosis. In such cases, we will have to do transcatheter aortic valve replacement. We should do, number 1, transcatheter aortic valve replacement should be done, and along with that we should do coronary artery bypass grafting. that is coronary artery bypass grafting should be done. This is for symptomatic patients. You will have to do valve replacement and coronary artery bypass grafting. Now if the patient is asymptomatic, in asymptomatic cases we can wait and watch for intraoperative we can wait and watch as the intraoperative mortality approaches more than 1% only. There will be intraoperative mortality is more than 1% only, so you can wait and watch. Then if you see the pediatric aortic stenosis, okay, if it's a pediatric aortic stenosis, in this we can do balloon valvotomy. Balloon valvotomy can be done in aortic stenosis, pediatric aortic stenosis. Then if you see, there is one more important thing which is called as severe aortic stenosis. In severe aortic stenosis, there is narrowing of aortic valve, and here the aortic valve orifice is less than 1 centimeter squared. Here aortic valve orifice is less than 1 centimeter square, then we call it as severe aortic orifice. And here one more important thing is transvalvular gradient, that is the difference between the left ventricle and the aorta pressures. That is, if this is the heart, this is the left ventricle and this is the aorta, the pressure difference between the left ventricle and the aorta, this transvalvular pressure gradient is more than 40 millimeters of Hg. Okay, and if you do the see the ejection velocity, this ejection velocity, if it is increased more than 4 centimeters per second, and if but what is the normal ejection velocity? Normal ejection velocity is 1 meter per second. Now in severe aortic stenosis, if it is increased to 4 meters per second or transvalvular gradient is more than 40 millimeters of Hg, or if aortic valve orifice is less than 1 centimeter squared, in these conditions we call it as severe aortic stenosis. Then we have one more type of aortic stenosis which is called as super severe aortic stenosis. I will write it here. So if you see, we also have super severe aortic stenosis. In super severe aortic stenosis, the aortic valve orifice is this criteria is not there, but transvalvular pressure gradient here is more than 55 millimeters of Hg. Then we call it as super severe aortic stenosis, and if the ejection velocity is more than 5.5 meters per second, then we call it as super severe aortic stenosis. So this is about aortic stenosis. Thank you for watching.